The Battle for the Thunder Highlands was a large-scale conflict with a battlefield radius spanning several hundred miles, divided into numerous smaller skirmishes. In such a massive battle, if no decisive, overwhelming factor emerged, it could easily drag on for days, nights, or even longer. Lucas did not rush to take action. He first observed the battlefield carefully. He sensed something peculiar about this fight. Firstly, the scale of the Chaos Federation's participating forces was extraordinarily large. The Abyssal Dragon Legion alone numbered 20,000, in addition to a vast number of Guardian Knights, high-level demons, and Ents. The total number of these top-tier troops exceeded 30,000. Such a massive force was enough to cause significant resistance and casualties for the Church coalition. Even under the leadership of 3 demigod-level heroes, victory would be hard-won and likely close to a Pyrrhic victory. The Radiant Church would inevitably suffer great losses from this battle. However, this did not concern Lucas. To him, the Radiant Church was not of paramount importance. As long as he could secure victory in this battle, destroy the Darkness City, and eliminate the Demon King Xiongnu, any cost would be worth it. Even if it meant sacrificing the entire Radiant Church, it would still be worthwhile. After all, if he could destroy the Darkness City and kill Xiongnu, the rewards would make Lucas the #1 hero, elevating him to a godlike status. At that point, with his own power and the artifact Heart of Holy Light, no force in the world could oppose him. The Radiant Church, no matter how strong, was just a faction. Once he achieved absolute power, what need would he have for any particular faction when he could command any force to his will? At this moment, Lucas felt a sense of gravity, not because of the battle situation, but due to a strange phenomenon he couldn't understand. Why hadn't the Demon King Xiongnu appeared yet? The Demon King army was not weak. With the home field advantage of the Chaos Forest, their forces could match the Church coalition evenly if the top combat powers on both sides didn't engage. In such circumstances, the top combatant's importance would directly determine the battle's outcome. Han Kursen had already shown such formidable strength, enough to resist a level 7 legendary figure. Logically, Xiongnu should be even stronger than Han Kursen. If Xiongnu were to engage and leverage the vast numbers of the Demon King's forces, it wouldn't necessarily lead to a decisive victory, but it would certainly increase their chances significantly. So, why wasn't he taking action? Lucas shared his confusion with the other 2 demigod heroes. Mandel said, there must be a reason why Xiongnu isn't taking action. Either he's unable to return in time due to some reasons, or he's preparing some other scheme against us. Wang Badao nodded, makes sense. Which possibility do you think is more likely? I think it's probably the second one, Lucas concluded. Xiongnu killed the Prophet of Doom Primo, and very likely has stolen Primo's abilities. He should have foreseen this battle and prepared in advance. Indeed, using the Prophet's abilities, if he could foresee the battle, how could Xiongnu, the Lord of Darkness City and the #1 Demon King, miss such a crucial fight? What could be more important than this? Lucas proposed, I have an idea. Let's have our troops continue fighting the Demon King's army while the 3 of us each lead an elite unit directly towards the Darkness City. The others agreed. Wang Badao said, I support this. If the enemy is indeed plotting something, we can uncover and disrupt it in time. If he's absent, we can seize the opportunity to destroy Darkness City. Without their base, even if he has extraordinary abilities, it will be futile. After their discussion, the 3 immediately took action. Lucas led 36 archbishops from the Radiant Archdiocese and 500 paladins from the Holy Order. Each archbishop was a level 6 overlord, and even the weakest of the knights were top-tier level 5, with a tenth of them reaching level 6. Wang Badao and Mandel also selected some elite troops from their forces. Let's go. Lucas activated a space attribute skill, transporting this elite unit from the rear of the battlefield directly to the center of the Chaos Forest. Damn it. Vice City Lord. Those 3 have left. Mancilia sensed the spatial fluctuation and immediately reported to Han Kursen, they're going to attack the Darkness City. Han Kursen's eyebrows furrowed slightly at first, but then, as if sensing something, she smiled. If they had made such a move yesterday, we would have had to fight for time with our lives. As for now, let them go. It was too late. Han Kursen knew well that the Darkness City would not be easily breached. Lucas successfully used his teleportation skill to transport an elite force of over 1,000 top-tier units to the vicinity of the Darkness City. From a distance, he could see the entire Darkness City shrouded in a massive barrier. Unlike other areas, the density of world trees within a few hundred miles of the Darkness City was much higher. In this vicinity, there was even a colossal world tree, over 10 times larger and reaching a height of tens of thousands of meters. The energy it emitted was far stronger than that of other world trees. This was no ordinary tree. It was the core mother tree of the world tree. Unlike other world trees, the power of the mother world tree was vastly superior. When it sensed intruders entering this area, hundreds of world tree priests, led by Archpriestess Gu-yi, acted from atop the mother tree. The towering world tree immediately unleashed its immense power, causing the surrounding hundreds of offspring world trees to undergo astonishing transformations. These energy-filled world trees all transformed into Ents, each possessing at least the power of a level 6 overlord. At this instance, the three demigod heroes faced not only a barrier several times stronger than one outside but also a massive group of level 6 overlord units. Moreover, these level 6 overlord units, being transformed world trees, could draw power from the earth and had nearly infinite stamina. The longer the battle dragged on, the more formidable the attrition they would cause. Damn it! Lucas hadn't anticipated encountering such a predicament. But compared to these formidable world Ents, what truly shocked and intimidated Lucas was the sight above Darkness City. Countless chaotic black clouds were brewing, and within them, a colossal dragon, thousands of meters long with 9 claws, was forming. This dragon's aura. Wang Badao sensed a hint of the dragon fear. Even as the Holy Dragon Emperor, the pinnacle of dragonkind, he felt like an ant before a giant dragon. It was an absolute suppression of bloodline and status. What's going on? Wang Badao was incredulous. Isn't Zhang Nu an abyssal dragon? Why is he transforming into this? Mandel's face turned pale with fear. No, this is level 7's aura. He's breaking through. Finally, they understood. Lucas, with a grim expression, said, if his aura is this terrifying even before the breakthrough, the consequences will be unimaginable if he succeeds. We must stop him. The three heroes were all demigods, but from the dragon before them, they could sense the aura of a true god. Demigods and true gods might seem similar in name, but they were vastly different, completely incomparable. A demigod merely possessed a touch of divinity. In contrast to a true god, they were leagues apart, not even in the same realm. Wang Badao flapped his wings and instantly swooped down, unleashing a dense stream of dragon flames that struck the barrier of Darkness City. Despite the intense burning, the barrier remained largely unchanged. At the same time, the surrounding world Ents launched their attacks. Their golden leaves glowed, releasing energy that condensed into energy balls in their hands, and then were hurled forward. Boom! 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 Dozens of energy balls came flying. Wang Badao swiftly dodged and shielded himself with his wings. With his strong resistance and defense, he managed to withstand the attacks without significant harm. Although the attacks weren't a direct threat, the Trent's power was considerable. With hundreds of them around, even someone as strong as Wang Badao would find himself under pressure if they all focused their attacks simultaneously. More importantly, while Wang Badao could defend himself, his subordinates could not. As the battle continued, several holy dragons were struck down and killed, each one a crucial combatant, irreplaceable and vital to their forces. At this moment, Mandel waved his hands through the air, drawing countless complex magical symbols around him. These symbols formed a magic formation hundreds of meters in diameter. When the formation activated, it created a massive black hole at its center, indicating at least a S-rank skill. The energy attacks from the world Ents were all absorbed into the magic formation and the black hole. Mandel said, this magic can hold for at most 2 minutes. We must break the barrier quickly. Wang Badao shouted, Lucas, what are you waiting for? Only the artifact can break the barrier quickly. All right. Fine. Lucas responded. Despite feeling some reluctance, Lucas had no choice but to unleash the power of the Heart of Holy Light. This time, he released 4,000 to 5,000 years worth of accumulated faith energy, summoning a massive orb of light. It resembled a sun, illuminating a radius of hundreds of miles with its scorching rays, blinding anyone who looked directly at it. Go! Lucas commanded, and the orb of light shot towards the sky above Darkness City, descending like a falling sun into the valley. It exploded with a brilliance thousands of times brighter than the sun. In an instant, the explosion's light engulfed a radius of 100 miles. Even those far away on the Thunder Highlands could feel the intense light from miles away, a testament to the terrifying power of this attack. In a flash, the surrounding world treants and all the flora were torn to shreds by the piercing rays, leaving only scorched marks. The attack was incredibly powerful, covering a 100-mile radius and instantly obliterating at least 100 world treants. While the sheer force didn't destroy the valley, it burned a massive hole in the barrier and caused significant damage to some buildings within the valley. Such power! Wangbadeo and Mandel were both stunned. They knew the artifact was formidable, but they hadn't expected it to be this strong. Lucas sneered, "Zhang Nu, your death is imminent. Today, no one can save you. Attack!" Wangbadeo and Mandel led their respective troops to storm into the Darkness Valley, but were met with resistance from various level 5 and 6 defensive facilities within the valley. Of course, while these defensive facilities were formidable, they couldn't stop this powerful force, and the number of troops stationed in the Darkness Valley was limited. In such circumstances, the combined might of the three demigod heroes and their elite combat units could almost certainly breach Darkness City, or at the very least, cause significant damage in a short period. Noticing the strong resistance from Darkness City, Lucas decided to end the battle quickly. He once again activated the Heart of Holy Light, summoning thousands of gigantic swords of light. Each of these colossal swords was tens of meters long, descending from the sky towards the core area of Darkness City. Lucas aimed to destroy the Demon King's castle in one fell swoop, disrupt the first Demon King Zhang Nu's breakthrough, either killing or severely injuring him, and thereby deciding the outcome of this battle. However, as Lucas was ready to strike, something strange happened. An invisible energy emanated from the castle within Darkness City, changing the very fabric of the world around it. This change in the world was not just a metaphor. Everywhere the invisible energy reached, all light and color were stripped away, leaving only black and white outlines, like an X-ray image. Simultaneously, all the swords of light froze in midair. It wasn't as if they were forcibly stopped by some power, they simply couldn't get any closer. The space around them was infinitely stretched, making every centimeter span thousands of miles. Time around them was also infinitely stretched, so each second outside equaled 100 or 1,000 days for them. In the blink of an eye, all the swords of light vanished into nothingness. Meanwhile, the invisible energy continued to spread, covering the holy dragons, demonic flame angels, holy order paladins, and radiant archbishops. As soon as this energy enveloped them, these powerful beings became motionless, as if time itself had stopped. Then, the paladins and archbishops alike began to wither and age visibly, eventually turning to dust. What is this? Lucas, Wangbadeo, and Mandel couldn't react in time and were caught in the energy field as well. Lucas felt all light infinitely stretched out. He fell into a bizarre dimension where time and space were highly distorted, like an alternate reality. You are affected by the Void Chaos domain. All skills below SSS level are unusable. All non-divine abilities are unusable. Space is stretched by 1,000,000 times. Time is slowed down by 1,000,000 times. What kind of power was this? A domain skill? Lucas was incredulous. He had never seen such a domain skill before. He knew his situation was dire. He was now in a space-time that was almost infinitely vast, where distances were unimaginably stretched, and time seemed endlessly prolonged. Additionally, all magic and most abilities were sealed and unusable. What kind of power was this? Was it really a domain skill? How could such a powerful domain skill exist in this world? No, he had to escape. Lucas tried various methods, but almost nothing worked in this environment. He could only raise the Heart of Holy Light, burning several thousand years' worth of faith energy. Countless rays of light emanated from the Heart of Holy Light, temporarily illuminating the colorless and lightless domain. Lucas momentarily freed himself from the time-space distortion and also liberated Wangbadeo and Mandel from the same state. Using the power of the artifact worked. It could counteract this strange energy. Before the three could celebrate or devise a plan, a voice came from ahead. So this is the Heart of Holy Light? The voice, calm and composed, continued, not bad. As expected of a divine artifact, it truly has some capabilities. The three heroes felt a chill in their hearts. They realized it very clearly. The great Demon King had awakened. The situation for the three heroes was incredibly precarious. The entire space within several dozen miles was enveloped by the Demon King's power, turning it into a domain where space was almost infinitely stretched and time was almost infinitely slowed. In this environment, what used to be just a few centimeters now stretched for hundreds of miles. The normal passage of a few seconds was slowed by 1,000,000 times, effectively freezing them in both time and space. This was an extremely advanced form of temporal and spatial manipulation. Even beings as powerful as demigods would find it nearly impossible to break free, unless they could harness the power of a true deity. Without the divine artifact, Lucas and his companions would undoubtedly face certain death. They wouldn't even qualify to engage the great Demon King, who could crush them as easily as ants. However, with the power of the Heart of Holy Light, Lucas managed to create a makeshift sanctuary. The artifact's power barely countered the spatial-temporal lockdown, preventing them from being completely immobilized. Despite this, it was not easy. Lucas could feel the Heart of Holy Light's power being rapidly depleted. The artifact alone was not sufficient to contend with their opponent. The only reason they could barely hold their ground was the accumulated faith energy of tens of thousands of years. How can it be this strong? Lucas muttered in disbelief. There was no doubt the great Demon King had successfully broken through. But even at level 7, they should still be on the same level. Yet, the current situation felt nothing like an equal battle, it was a one-sided crushing defeat. Just then, the bubble of light that Lucas had created in the endless void began to shake violently. Something was invading. First, a massive dragon's head appeared, followed by a body extending over 1,000 meters, covered in dark scales with a golden sheen, and 9 imposing claws. This was not a typical Western dragon. It was an Eastern divine dragon, a majestic, 9-clawed dragon. The dragon fear was thousands of times stronger than even the top-tier dragon emperor like Wang Badao. Mortals couldn't hope to look upon it directly. Not just mortals, even level 7 beings felt unprecedented pressure. Suddenly, their player interface were flashing with warnings. You have gazed directly at a god. Life force -500, MP -5 permanently. You have gazed directly at a god. Life force -500, MP -5 permanently. You have gazed directly at a god. Life force -500, MP -5 permanently. It became clear that this dragon before them was no longer an ordinary dragon. It had long surpassed dragon kings and dragon emperors, it was a genuine dragon god. Whether virtuous or evil, gods are not to be looked upon directly. Mortal mental strength cannot withstand the influence of a deity, and thus, mortals who gaze upon a deity would suffer severe mental damage or be driven mad by the influence of an evil god. Despite reaching the demigod level, the 3 heroes had only attained a semblance of divinity. They had not truly become gods, and the leap from demigod to true godhood was far greater than the combined progression from level 1 to 7. When Zhang Nu forcibly entered the sanctuary of the Heart of Holy Light, he felt a scorching energy radiating from all directions. This was the Heart of Holy Light exerting its suppressive force. Undeniably, the Heart of Holy Light was a genuinely powerful artifact, especially after absorbing such an immense amount of faith energy, making its power truly terrifying. However, no matter how powerful the Heart of Holy Light was, it remained an equipment. It was nearly invincible against any target below the divine class, but it couldn't threaten a true god. In a flash of light, the 9-clawed divine dragon's form shrank and ultimately transformed into a human figure. Zhang Nu didn't become a draconian, instead, he morphed into a young man with a handsome and dignified appearance. He wore a black dragon robe and, aside from his regal aura, looked much like an ordinary man. Since becoming the Chaos Dragon God, Zhang Nu had undergone an earth-shattering transformation, no longer bound by his previous race or form. As a result, Zhang Nu could appear in his divine dragon form and transform into a human with near-perfect ease. After transforming into his human form, Zhang Nu floated in midair with his hands behind his back, continuing to confront the 3 heroes. Although his reduced size lessened the sense of oppression, the sense of danger and his imposing presence remained undiminished. Damn it! Strike him as one. I refuse to believe there's anyone in this world who can withstand the 3 of us combined. Wang Badao and Mandel spoke, then simultaneously flew toward Zhang Nu. At this point, hesitating or retreating was meaningless. They could only fight desperately to create an opportunity for Lucas to use the immense power within the Heart of Holy Light to defeat the great Demon King. Wang Badao spewed a stream of golden dragon flames, while Mandel summoned a giant black python. The golden and black forces struck Zhang Nu simultaneously. Zhang Nu merely waved his hand as if swatting away flies, instantly absorbing both attacks. The full force strikes of two demigod heroes were insignificant to the great demon king, not even causing an inconvenience. Too weak, Zhang Nu said, unleashing his dragon fear. It was less a dragon fear and more a divine presence. You are affected by the dragon god's presence. HP minus 3000 permanently, MP minus 500 permanently, stunned for 5 seconds. You are affected by the dragon god's presence. HP minus 3000 permanently, MP minus 500 permanently, stunned for 5 seconds. The two demigod heroes lost their ability to act almost simultaneously. With a mere thought, Zhang Nu filled the surrounding space with fire and lightning, which instantly engulfed the two and launched a barrage of attacks. You are struck by dragon god's lightning. HP minus 4000 permanently, Constitution minus 50 permanently, Agility minus 50 permanently. You are struck by dragon god's flame. HP minus 4000 permanently, Constitution minus 50 permanently, Will minus 50 permanently. You are struck by dragon god's lightning. HP minus 4000 permanently, Constitution minus 50 permanently, Agility minus 50 permanently. The two heroes were utterly shocked. The great demon king's attacks were not only immensely powerful, but each strike also caused permanent damage and stat loss. In mere moments, they lost tens of thousands of maximum HP and thousands of stat points, which could not be restored by any healing or medication. Even if they survived this battle, their strength would be immensely diminished. Seeing this, Lucas hurriedly activated the Heart of Holy Light, knowing that now was not the time to be stingy with its power. If Wang Badao and Mandel were killed, how could he possibly withstand this newly ascended demon king alone? At that moment, Zhang Nu combined lightning and fire, creating a nearly colorless chaotic thunder flame. He then split it into two massive flying swords that flew towards the two heroes. You are struck by chaotic thunder flame. HP minus 20,000 permanently, MP minus 10,000 permanently, all 4 stats minus 1,000 permanently. How were they supposed to fight against this? It wasn't something any mortal could withstand. The two heroes were utterly panicked, feeling their bodies weaken to the extreme. Even if they survived, they would never regain their former strength. Stop. But Zhang Nu showed no mercy. He created hundreds of chaotic thunder flames out of thin air, instantly teleporting them onto the two heroes, forming unavoidable attacks. In their agonizing and unwilling screams, the two demigod-level heroes were incinerated into nothingness. Zhang Nu hadn't moved an inch, nor had he expended any effort. The attacks he casually created with his thoughts were enough to make any hero despair. Lucas's face turned ashen. He had known the two were no match, but he hadn't expected the battle to end so quickly. The great demon king teleported in front of him and said, "Your turn." Lucas's expression fluctuated. You are indeed powerful, but with the Heart of Holy Light, I might not lose to you. I even have the confidence to take you down with me. Zhang Nu laughed. Really? Gritting his teeth, Lucas said, I demand peace talks with Darkness City. Otherwise, I will unleash the full power of the Heart of Holy Light. Even if it means mutual destruction, I will erase you and your city from this world. At this point, this imbecile still dared to make threats. Zhang Nu sneered, is that so? Then I would like to see if the Heart of Holy Light is truly as powerful as you claim. Clearly, the Demon King had no intention of negotiating. Seeing this, Lucas knew that without a desperate fight, he wouldn't survive this ordeal. Clenching his teeth, a vicious expression appeared on his face. Yet, deep down, he hesitated. He wasn't sure how far he should go. If he fully unleashed the power of the Heart of Holy Light, Lucas was confident he could take down the Demon King before him. But was it really worth it? In that moment of hesitation, Zhang Nu sneered, summoning countless thunder flames from all directions, which converged in his palm to form a massive war spear. With a swift motion, he hurled it. The war spear pierced through space without any flight process, penetrating Lucas's back and pinning him in place with almost impossible to evade precision. All magical defenses and shields were rendered useless against this attack. You are struck by chaotic thunder flame. HP minus 10,000. One casual strike had caused such immense damage. Lucas's face turned pale with fright, and he no longer hesitated. The Heart of Holy Light in his hand rapidly shrank, and he swallowed it like a pill. This guy actually consumed the Radiant Church's supreme artifact. The scene was shocking, but Zhang Nu seemed to have anticipated it. He neither stopped Lucas nor showed any surprise. Lucas's every move was almost impossible to hide from his insight and foresight. So what if you're a god? Lucas's skin began to crack all over, releasing intense light from these fissures as well as from his eyes, mouth, nose, and ears. His aura surged wildly. He let out a hysterical roar. Now that I've merged with the heart of holy light, I can even challenge a true god. In the next second, Lucas's body completely exploded. His flesh disintegrated, replaced by a giant of light dozens of meters tall, as if the god of light himself had descended to the mortal world, exuding an aura that surpassed all beings. Die. After transforming into the giant of light, Lucas extended a massive hand to crush Xiangnu. This attack seemed simple, but it was exceptionally powerful. If struck, dozens of suppressive and sealing divine spells imbued within would simultaneously activate. However, Xiangnu did not dodge. Such an attack might easily overpower any level 7 entity, but it was ineffective against a being who had already entered the realm of the divine. Lucas realized that as the giant hand of light struck the demon king, it felt like hitting a black hole, with all energy and divine spells being absorbed. It seemed that an invisible spherical barrier surrounded Xiangnu, absorbing any force that touched it. At the same time, Xiangnu extended a single finger and lightly poked the giant hand of light. Like a drop of dark ink in clear water, the entire hand turned red in the next instant. Moreover, this red hue began to spread. The red energy emanated an extremely filthy and evil aura, the essence of corruption, created by the source of corruption. After ascending to the divine level, the corrupted blood created by Xiangnu was thousands times more potent than before. Even a level 7 being would be frantically corrupted by an evil god's blood upon contact. In the end, the heart of holy light was just an artifact and the corrupted blood could taint all things. With Xiangnu's current power, the corrupted blood he created could weaken, nullify, or even cause artifacts to lose control. Arg! Lucas retreated and decisively severed his right arm. By sacrificing his arm, he avoided the corrupted blood from spreading throughout his body, barely saving himself. Damn it! Lucas noticed that the great demon king was surrounded by a substantial amount of red aura. Xiangnu frantically created more corrupted blood and summoned dozens of flying swords formed from chaotic thunder flames, infusing them with the corrupted blood. All the flying swords were then teleported, striking Lucas instantly without any trace of their flight. The attacks pierced Lucas's body in dozens of places, each strike carrying the power of the dragon god and the aura of the evil god. Such an onslaught not only caused significant depletion to the heart of holy light but also allowed a considerable amount of corrupted blood to infiltrate and permeate through the giant of light's body. Now, the entire giant of light was suffused with red tendrils spreading rapidly like blood vessels, covering him in no time. I can't move. Lucas was horrified to find that, having been severely injured by the dragon god's power and affected by the corrupted blood, his body was now completely immobilized. Simultaneously, Xiangnu underwent a transformation once more. This time, the great demon king did not take on the form of the 9-clawed dragon god but instead transformed into a towering monster over 100 meters tall, covered in green scales, twisted and indescribable. No one could precisely describe its appearance. Its very existence seemed to epitomize chaos. This was the form of an evil god. After evolving into the Chaos Dragon God through the divine essence of the eight-eyed evil god, the fragments of the evil god within Xiangnu had not disappeared. He still retained the ability to enter the state of the evil god. Compared to when he was at level 6, the aura and power Xiangnu now emitted in his evil god form were enough to replace the eight-eyed evil god. He was the new eight-eyed evil god. Do not think you can just kill me. If I die, we die together. Lucas, completely desperate, decided to go all out. He prepared to release the heart of holy light within him, unleashing nearly 100,000 years' worth of faith energy in one go. How powerful was this force? If fully released, it would wipe out the entire Darkness City, the Darkness Valley, and most of the Chaos Forest. Thousands of kilometers of land, all life within it, would be obliterated. This was why Lucas was confident he could take Xiangnu down with him, because no one could withstand such an attack. But at that moment, the 8 eyes of Xiangnu merged into one. Xiangnu unleashed a unique attack skill of the evil god, where the 8 eyes released 8 different energies that fused into a single black beam. In an instant, it struck Lucas in advance. The full-force attack of the 8-eyed evil god was extraordinary, directly suppressing the power of the heart of holy light, preventing its release for a moment. Within the next second, there was a blood-curdling scream. Lucas cried out in despair, "No! No!" But it was too late. Under the combined attack of the 8 eyes, Lucas was instantly obliterated, crushed by the immense power. All that remained was a glowing object, the size of a fist, floating in the air, presumably the heart of holy light. Finally, the 3 troublesome heroes had been dealt with. With Zhang Nu's breakthrough to level 7 divine, even these demigod heroes were no longer a threat to him. It's time to end this battle once and for all. Having eliminated the 3 demigods, Zhang Nu did not stop. He continued to take action. Because Lucas and the 3 heroes led a portion of their elite troops away from the main battlefield, the pressure on the Demon King's army was greatly reduced. Under Han Kursen's leadership, the Demon King's army successfully resisted the Church Coalition army's attack and even began to gain the upper hand. What's going on? The situation is looking grim. Regent Prince Carlos of the Sunset Empire had a foreboding feeling. Logically, once they launched a surprise attack on Darkness City and killed the true Demon King, the Abyssal dragons and Draconian forces should have disappeared. But why was the Demon King's army still unaffected? Why hadn't Darkness City been breached? Additionally, what shocked Prince Carlos was that, despite the Church mobilizing such a massive force, with numerous factions sending their elites and the Sunset Empire sparing no effort to join the battle, they still couldn't gain the upper hand against the Chaos Federation's army. Instead, they felt suppressed. After all, this was the Demon King's home turf. If the battle continued like this, it wouldn't take more than 2 days for the Church Coalition to be completely overpowered and inevitably slide into defeat. How long had Darkness City been developing? How did it already possess such formidable strength? Prince Carlos's sense of foreboding grew stronger, and he even began to have thoughts of retreating. Perhaps opposing the Demon King had been a mistake from the very beginning. However, before a strategy could be formulated, a strange aura suddenly descended upon the battlefield. A massive spatial rift opened in the sky above the Thunder Highlands, and a black 9-clawed divine dragon slowly emerged from it. His Majesty. It's His Majesty the Demon King. Although Zhang Nu had transcended the dragon race and officially became a deity, significantly changing his appearance, his primary subordinates like Han Kursen and Nancilia could still recognize him. After all, who else in the Chaos Forest could possess such majesty? Zhang Nu's dragon god form had no size constraints. He could maintain a length of about 1 kilometer or effortlessly expand several hundred times. At this moment, Zhang Nu's body spanned over 100 kilometers, resembling a massive mountain range, hovering above the Thunder Highlands. From any point on the battlefield, one could clearly witness this magnificent presence. Gods were not to be gazed upon directly, especially by those cursed and despised by the said divine being. The moment the Church Coalition saw the Chaos Dragon God, they fell into unprecedented panic. Their mana strength, life force, and various stats were all affected. Damn it! How can the Demon King be this powerful? Bloody hell, he's enormous. Who cares? No matter how strong he is, he's still just one being. With such a large size, he's an easy target. That's right, we have an army. Attack! He couldn't withstand us all. The Church Coalition army was vast, with numerous heroes and top-tier warriors from various nations. These individuals could barely resist the divine pressure and were now attempting to join forces to repel the dragon god. Zhang Nu coldly sneered. Mere ants, dreaming of slaying a god? His voice echoed through the heavens, shaking the very sky. Thousands, even tens of thousands, of attacks flew toward Zhang Nu, only to vanish as if they had been swallowed by the void. At the same time, an indescribable and unparalleled force emanated once more from the Chaos Dragon God's body. Any area touched by this power quickly lost all color, as if plunged into a spacetime frozen in absolute stillness. At this point, it was too late for Prince Carlos to flee. As the colorless domain swept across the battlefield, he too was caught in a space where time stretched infinitely and space expanded without end. Neither Prince Carlos, Pope Dolores, nor any of the Church's strongest warriors or the Coalition's elite, whether they were holy dragons or fallen angels, could resist. None had reached the level of a demigod. Forget about fighting back once they were caught in the time-space domain, they couldn't even struggle or perceive their surroundings. Everyone froze in place, their faces twisted in fear, trapped in this eerie domain. Zhang Nu made his next move. His colossal dragon tail, spanning hundreds of miles, crackled with divine flames and lightning. With a single sweeping motion, tens of thousands, even 100,000 troops were obliterated, wiped out without the slightest resistance. This scene unfolded before the eyes of Han Kursen and the others. Although they too were caught in the space-time domain, Zhang Nu spared them since they were his allies, allowing them to witness this near-apocalyptic spectacle. A vast army, an army powerful enough to conquer empires, was utterly annihilated with a casual sweep of Zhang Nu's tail. The remaining forces of the Church coalition were utterly insignificant before the Chaos Dragon God, unable even to pose the slightest threat. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Zhang Nu did not annihilate the entire Church coalition. He needed to be selective in his kills. For instance, someone like Regent Prince Carlos was of no use and could be swatted away like a fly. His existence held no value, so eliminating him and his close associates would only benefit Zhang Nu. Han Kursen had already secured control over the Crown Prince Miles of the Sunset Empire. With Prince Carlos out of the way, the Crown Prince could seamlessly take over the entire Sunset Empire on behalf of Darkness City. On the other hand, someone like Dolores could be spared and captured. The Church's influence and its vast territories were significant. If Zhang Nu could absorb this massive force under his banner, it would undoubtedly serve Darkness City well, accelerating the Demon King's conquest of the world. In short, from the moment the Chaos Dragon God appeared, the once mighty Church coalition had become nothing more than meat on the chopping block, with its fate entirely in Zhang Nu's hands. After this battle, the path to world domination by the Demon King was set. No force in this world could stand in his way. News of the Chaos Forest and the Battle of the Thunder Highlands spread like wildfire. When the world learned that the combined might of 3 top-ranked heroes, the entire Radiant Church, the Sunset Empire, and a dozen other factions had been utterly defeated by the great Demon King of Darkness City, despair swept through the ranks of warriors worldwide. The #1 Demon King, Zhang Nu, had become an unstoppable force. His power had reached an unfathomable level, beyond anything the world had ever seen. The rise of the Demon King faction was now an undeniable reality. There was no one left who could stand in his way. While most of the hero faction fell into despair upon hearing the news, a few exceptions remained. The world beyond, the outer world, the vast, expansive realm dwarfed the land, the underworld, and the oceans combined. In these distant and mysterious regions, ancient and enigmatic powers lay hidden. The Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom was one such force, an ancient seraphim kingdom with a history predating the entire human era. The Crown Prince of the Blazing Flame Kingdom, Takuto Sanya, was a formidable hero, ranked 398th on the hero leaderboard. However, what counted as formidable for him would likely amount to little more than cannon fodder against the #1 Demon King. Zhang Nu. Takuto Sanya wasn't even worthy of challenging Zhang Nu in battle. Even Han Kursen, the second in command of Darkness City, was an insurmountable obstacle for him. The Radiant Church actually lost? Takuto Sanya had only recently learned about the Radiant Church's campaign against the Demon King. Before he could delve further into the situation, news of the Church's defeat had already reached him. But how could this be possible? Could the Demon King's forces really be that powerful? Feeling deeply unsettled, Takuto Sanya decided to visit the supreme sanctuary of the Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom. He believed this matter needed to be brought to the attention of the One Within. The supreme sanctuary of the Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom was the most sacred place in the entire kingdom. It was completely independent of the kingdom's power structure, and not even the Emperor of the Celestial Kingdom had the authority to command the sanctuary's guardians. Only the most powerful beings of the Blazing Flame Kingdom had the privilege to enter the sanctuary and become eternal guardians. As Takuto Sanya approached the sanctuary, he immediately felt an overwhelming pressure. The sanctuary was guarded by powerful 18-winged seraphim, the most renowned eternal guardians of the Blazing Flame Kingdom, each possessing immense strength. Takuto Sanya declared, "I am the Crown Prince of the Kingdom. I require an audience with the Grand Guardian." The Grand Guardian he referred to as the Master of the Supreme Sanctuary, the chief warrior of the Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom, and its most formidable protector, a figure of such prominence that even the Emperor rarely had the chance to meet them. One of the 18-winged seraphim responded coldly, "The Master does not grant audiences to anyone. You must leave immediately." Despite being the Crown Prince, the Sacred Guardian showed no sign of deference. But at that moment, a voice suddenly echoed from deep within the grand and ornate palace, "Let him in." Upon hearing these words, the guardians finally stepped aside. Takuto Sanya immediately entered the sanctuary. After passing through a series of opulent and dreamlike halls, he finally reached the innermost chamber of the sanctuary, where he saw a figure floating in midair. It was a woman. Behind her, 36 resplendent wings shimmered with golden flames, perfectly complementing her long silver hair, giving her an aura of divine majesty. This was the master of the sanctuary. She also held another title, Amelia Ray, the number 4 hero. Amelia asked calmly, "What brings you here?" Takuto Sanya quickly relayed the information he had just learned. The Radiant Church is by no means a third-rate power. They not only possess a divine artifact, but also wield forces that can rival those of the Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom. Yet, despite this, they suffered a crushing defeat in their campaign against Darkness City. The legendary Pope, even with the artifact in hand, was defeated by the Demon King. You understand what this means? Amelia's brow furrowed. Are you certain of this information? Takuto Sanya replied, absolutely. If the situation weren't so dire and beyond control, I wouldn't have come here specifically to seek you out. Amelia's expression darkened. Although I have descended as the master of the supreme sanctuary in the Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom, I am bound by certain restrictions and cannot leave the sanctuary easily. I never imagined that the Demon King's power would grow to this extent in such a short time. Takuto Sanya hurriedly asked, do you have any confidence in defeating Zhang Nu? Amelia shook her head. Based on your description, if Zhang Nu was able to kill Lucas, who wielded the Heart of Holy Light, that's something even I couldn't achieve. The Heart of Holy Light is not just an artifact, it has absorbed the faith of billions of believers over countless millennia. For Zhang Nu to defeat Lucas without perishing himself indicates that Zhang Nu has undoubtedly become a divine being. Takuto Sanya exclaimed, then what are we to do? Are we just supposed to sit and wait for Darkness City to conquer everything? Not necessarily, Amelia replied, as if something had just occurred to her. Takuto Sanya seemed to see a glimmer of hope. Is there still a way? Amelia nodded. Since Zhang Nu has reached divine class, we'll need another god to deal with him. I know the location of the number 1 hero, Isaac. This statement carried a lot of weight. A god to counter a god. Although Amelia was the number 4 hero and incredibly powerful, she was still just a demigod. Her strength wasn't significantly greater than that of Lucas. The Supreme Sanctuary also housed an artifact, but its power wasn't stronger than that of the Heart of Holy Light. Since Lucas had proven through experience that a demigod-level hero with an artifact couldn't stand against the number 1 Demon King, it could only mean that the Demon King had ascended to divine level. But who was this divine being meant to counter him? Amelia mentioned the number 1 hero, Isaac. Takuto Sanya was shocked. Are you saying that, like the number 1 Demon King Zhang Nu, the first hero is also a divine being? Amelia nodded. Yes, he was fortunate enough to descend into a fully intact evil god. What? He descended into an evil god. Takuto Sanya was stunned. He knew that some heroes had become mighty beings like Amelia and Lucas, while others had risen to positions of supreme power, such as emperors of empires. But he had never imagined that a hero could directly become a god. Amelia continued, but he wasn't entirely fortunate. The evil god he occupied is in a deep slumber, and under natural conditions, it won't awaken for thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of years. It sounded like this number 1 hero was under even greater constraints than Amelia. However, even though the evil god was asleep, it didn't mean it was completely inactive. Isaac could still interact with the outside world through psychic projections or by controlling other living beings. Takuto Sanya asked, what should we do? Amelia replied, it's simple. We need to find the location where he's slumbering and awaken him from the river of time. Takuto Sanya asked, can Isaac really deal with Zhang Nu? Amelia responded, at this level of confrontation, it's difficult for even me to predict the outcome. But even if Zhang Nu has ascended to divine status, he's still a newly emerged god. In contrast, the evil god that Isaac has merged with is an ancient ruler, one who has spanned countless ages. Even among evil gods, it's considered exceptionally powerful. If even Isaac can't stop Zhang Nu, then it means we've lost this game. Hearing this, Takuto Sanya nodded. Although there was still no absolute certainty, it was clear that Isaac had a much better chance. Since there was still hope, they had to try. The Demon King's territory was expanding at an exponential rate. If they didn't put an end to the strongest Demon King soon, the situation would inevitably spiral out of control. Meanwhile, in Darkness City, the battle had come to an end. The city had captured hundreds of thousands of prisoners of war, consisting of elites and powerful figures from various nations and factions. These prisoners were now at the mercy of the Demon King, their fates entirely dependent on his will. Zhang Nu sat in his castle, with no trace of the Demon King remaining on him. He had reverted to his normal human appearance, his aura completely concealed, making it easy for an ordinary person standing before him to mistake him for just another human. Standing beside him was a tall demon, none other than the succubus empress, Han Kursin. She was reporting, "We achieved a resounding victory in this battle. The casualties on our side have been arranged for resurrection at the altar. We have captured the current pope of the Radiant Church, Dolores, along with several other leaders and top figures from various factions. These individuals can be controlled permanently through my enchantment. As long as we control these people, the territories and forces they currently govern will be swiftly infiltrated by us. Sooner or later, we will be able to take over without shedding a drop of blood." Zhang Nu was pleased and asked, "How are things progressing with the Sunset Empire?" Han Kursin responded, "Rest assured, we have already taken control of the Crown Prince of the Sunset Empire. With Regent Prince Carlos eliminated by us in the Thunder Highlands, his faction is now leaderless. I've dispatched our top experts to assist the Crown Prince in staging a coup upon his return to the Sunset Empire. It won't be long before the old emperor is dethroned, the regent's faction completely eradicated, and the new emperor publicly aligns the Sunset Empire with the Chaos Federation. We will be able to take over this empire without a single casualty." "Excellent. Excellent." The Demon King was very satisfied. Conquering an empire-level force hadn't been easy, but now, he was about to secure one effortlessly. While there would certainly be some unrest and localized conflicts, it was a small price to pay in comparison. And it wasn't just the Sunset Empire, the Chaos Sea to the south was also on the verge of being annexed. The Demon King's power was about to expand at an astonishing rate. The Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom was hosting a grand ceremony. Thousands of chosen seraphim surrounded a large pool of platinum flames, and after a series of complex rituals, these seraphim threw themselves into the fiery sea. Immediately, the entire sanctuary began to tremble. After the sacrificial offerings of thousands, the sacred flames in the giant pool gradually shrank, eventually gathering together and forming into a burning holy sword. Witnessing this, Takuto Sanya was filled with excitement. He murmured to himself, "This is the legendary eternal flame that never extinguishes." The sword wasn't just ordinary sacred fire, it was the Blazing Flame Kingdom's national treasure, an artifact powerful enough to safeguard the entire nation, the Eternal Flame. The Eternal Flame had been sealed within the sacred pool beneath the Supreme Sanctuary for at least 10,000 years, never having been released. Each use required an extremely complex ritual and came at a great cost. Its significance to the Blazing Flame Kingdom was akin to that of the Hall of Heroes in the Thunder Empire. As a symbol of the kingdom's foundation, an item of this magnitude could not be used lightly. However, in response to the crisis posed by the Demon King, the Grand Guardian Amelia herself had requested the use of this powerful artifact. The moment Amelia made contact with the Eternal Flame, it transformed into countless streams of fire, entering her body through every pore. Amelia's strength was already at the level of a demigod. Now, after merging with this divine artifact, her power had risen to that of a pseudo-god. "We can set out now," she declared. Amelia approached Takuto Sanya. Normally, she couldn't leave the sanctuary, all the eternal guardians of the temple possessed boundless life, but the price of this eternal life was that they had to remain within the sanctuary. The farther they strayed from the sanctuary, the more their power would be diminished, eventually leading to possible decay and death. This was why Amelia, despite being the number 4 hero, rarely left the sanctuary. But now, that concern no longer applied. The core of the sanctuary's power was the eternal flame, and Amelia had directly fused it into her body. She had not only gained near-divine strength, but was also no longer bound by the sanctuary's radius. However, she couldn't stay away from the sanctuary for too long. Without the support of the eternal flame, the sanctuary would eventually collapse. Takuto Sanya asked, "Where are we going now?" Amelia tossed him a teleportation stone and said, "We're going to the end of the abyss." With that, she activated the teleportation stone. After leaving the Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom, they instantly appeared in an extremely eerie and dark space. This place was bizarre, as if time and space had come to a halt, with projections visible in every direction. It felt like being inside a super matrix made of countless mirrors. However, this was more complex than a matrix of mirrors. These were the unique dimensional mirrors at the end of time and space. Passing through these mirrors could potentially lead to an exit from this world. Of course, there was a greater likelihood of falling into the void and ceasing to exist entirely. The entire space was filled with a foreboding atmosphere. Takuto Sanya didn't dare to move in such an environment, knowing that even the slightest wrong move could result in being swept into endless nothingness. Emilia extended her hand, and the eternal flame burst forth from her palms, instantly forming a protective shield that enveloped them both. "Follow me," Emilia commanded as the two began to move. With the protection of the eternal flame, they passed through countless dimensional mirrors until one of the mirrors shattered, revealing an isolated and chaotic space before them. "What is this?" Takuto Sanya immediately felt a terrifying force invading him as soon as they entered. "You have been corrupted by evil god's aura. HP-5 permanently. You have been corrupted by evil god's aura. HP-5 permanently. You have been corrupted by evil god's aura. HP-5 permanently." Takuto Sanya's face turned pale. He had encountered evil god seals before, but typically, the corruption would cause a loss of HP or a temporary decline in stats. Never had he seen corruption that resulted in a permanent loss of life. Emilia unleashed a burst of eternal flame, and under its radiant glow, the evil god's aura was neutralized. Only divine power could counteract divine power. The eternal flame was a divine weapon, and a fully manifested evil god was also a divine-level entity, meaning they could cancel each other out. Under the light of the eternal flame, Takuto Sanya, relying on his exceptional vision and perception, was barely able to make out their surroundings. They stood in an ancient and enormous stone temple. The entire temple was empty, save for a colossal stone statue towering 1,000 meters high. The statue was indescribably eerie. Though it was a solid, lifeless object, Takuto Sanya found it impossible to describe its form. It was clearly a stone sculpture, yet it appeared different every time he looked at it. At times, it had 1,000 hands and feet, at other times, 1,000 heads and tails. It seemed like a constantly shifting cloud of smoke, or perhaps it existed in a higher dimension, where lower-dimensional beings like Takuto could only perceive one aspect of it at a time, unable to comprehend its full nature. There was no doubt the source of the evil god's aura lay within this enigmatic statue. This must be the physical form of a powerful evil god. Takuto Sanya was stunned. "This is..." Emilia explained, "This evil god is known as the Formless Black Nightmare, a being of immense power even among evil gods. Eons ago, the Black Nightmare was banished by the combined forces of the Celestials. The number one hero, Isaac, is within this very evil god. The number one hero was actually an evil god. This was almost beyond belief." Emilia continued, "I'm going to awaken him now. Be prepared for his nightmare creatures." As she spoke, she soared into the air, braving the aura emanating from the slumbering evil god as she approached the statue. Then, Takuto Sanya noticed a sudden appearance of twisted black fog around the evil god's body. From this fog, numerous terrifying, indescribable creatures began to emerge. These must be the nightmare creations of the evil god. These creatures didn't belong to this world. They were beings peeled away from the evil god's dreams during its slumber. As a symbol of chaos and the most powerful disruptor of order, the evil god's nightmares could be materialized. Over countless millennia, it was unimaginable how many monsters the evil god had created within its nightmares. The more nightmare creations there were, the stronger the nightmare became, and if unleashed, it could lead to a cataclysmic event. At this moment, the presence of Emilia and Takuto Sanya had disturbed the evil god's slumber, causing its dream to loosen, allowing some of these nightmare creations to leak into reality. "Hold off these nightmares," Emilia commanded as she unleashed a wall of eternal flame. Any nightmare creature that touched the flame was instantly incinerated, reduced to ashes. Takuto Sanya's body and weapons were imbued with the eternal flame, protecting him from the evil god's aura and allowing him to effectively combat the nightmare creatures. The two split up. While Takuto Sanya drew the attention of the nightmare creatures, Emilia transformed into a fiery meteor, swiftly ascending to the top of the 1,000-meter-high statue. She gathered a mass of eternal flame in each hand and pressed them against the statue. In the next moment, the raging flame surged into the statue, spreading across its entire surface in the blink of an eye. The entire statue became covered in web-like patterns, with fire flowing through each line. At the same time, the aura of the evil god suddenly intensified tenfold. A second later, a deafening explosion shook the area. Like a volcanic eruption, the eternal flame flooded the entire temple in an instant, incinerating all the nearby nightmare creatures. Did it work? Takuto Sanya cautiously retreated, fully alert. He could clearly sense that something within the center of the eternal flame explosion had awakened. Even through the intense blaze, its presence could not be concealed. Soon, the flames died down. The 1,000-meter-tall statue that had dominated the ancient temple was now gone, vanished without a trace as if it had been erased from existence. Simultaneously, the terrifying aura of the evil god also disappeared. Takuto Sanya looked puzzled. Could it be that Amelia's attack had been too fierce? The eternal flame, being a divine-class power, was indeed capable of harming divine beings. Had the evil god, still in its slumber, been burned to death? But just then, the remaining flames parted on their own, and a dark figure emerged from within. This figure was only about 3 meters tall, seemingly without a physical body, clad in a tattered black robe. Underneath the hood was a void of nightmare-like darkness. No legs were visible beneath the robe, only countless writhing tentacles. Takuto Sanya's expression grew serious. The evil god hadn't perished. This was indeed the rank 1 hero, Isaac. The evil god, formless black nightmare, had no true physical form and could appear in any shape or form it desired, even manifesting as a purely psychic presence. At this moment, Isaac had suppressed his divine nature to avoid releasing the mind-shattering aura of the evil god. Isaac sent out a telepathic wave. Finally, I am free. You understand the consequences of unsealing me. You wouldn't do this without reason. Indeed, unsealing the number 1 hero meant unsealing a fully formed evil god. No hero could stand against such a being, and Isaac posed a significant threat to any nation or hero. Amelia would not have released Isaac unless absolutely necessary. Takuto Sanya stepped forward and said, "Honorable Isaac, we need your help now. You are the only one among all the heroes who can defeat the rank 1 Demon King." The rank 1 Demon King? Isaac didn't ask for details. Instead, his all-pervasive psychic power directly invaded Takuto Sanya's mind, instantly reading all of his memories and acquiring all the information in a flash. Interesting, Isaac remarked. A demon king has become a god? Very well, I understand your request. I will deal with him. After processing the information, Isaac's thoughts flicked, and Takuto Sanya's head exploded. But you are too weak to be my ally, Isaac said coldly. Takuto Sanya was killed. Amelia neither felt anger nor shock. Her relationship with Takuto Sanya was rather ordinary. He had been somewhat useful, but his death wasn't a significant loss. Now that Isaac was free, he should be sufficient to deal with Zhang Nu. At the same time, Amelia was fully aware that a hero like Isaac, who had merged with an ancient evil god, had undergone a fundamental change. Whether this was ultimately good or bad was hard to determine. This is easy to understand. A player is, after all, just a human, with a limited lifespan and experiences. In a sense, a player's memory is like a tiny droplet of water, while the will of an ancient evil god is like a vast ocean. When that droplet falls into the ocean, even though the powerful influence of the game creators ensures that the droplets will remain dominant, it is still incredibly small compared to the vastness of the ocean. A hero who controls the body of a powerful evil god must contend with memories spanning millions or even tens of millions of years in overwhelming and immense force. This inevitably affects the player's personality and sanity. It wasn't just Isaac who faced such issues. Amelia herself had undergone a profound transformation. She had once been an ordinary middle-aged woman, but after inheriting the memories of this body, which spanned 100,000 years, everything about her, her thoughts, her personality, her very being had changed drastically. In truth, even Amelia couldn't clearly say whether it was the player who dominated this powerful native being, or if the powerful demigod had consumed the player. Isaac's divine body was even more ancient, and the memories of the evil god were far more chaotic, frenzied, and illogical. The dimensions of information the evil god could process were beyond anything a normal person could comprehend. Under such influence, Isaac's actions had become unpredictable. Amelia asked, "What are your plans now?" Isaac responded with a dark and maniacal laugh. "Plans? I don't think I need such things." Amelia frowned. "Are you planning to go straight after the number 1 Demon King Zhang Nu? Isn't that too reckless? I think we should consider our approach carefully and seek cooperation from the major factions." Isaac replied, "In a battle between gods, numbers don't matter. Besides, I don't lack followers. You can make whatever arrangements you like, but right now, all I want is to have a good fight with Zhang Nu. Isaac had long had enough. To most, being reincarnated as an evil god, starting with divine class power, would seem like a stroke of incredible luck. But in reality, it was anything but. Isaac's mind was filled with the frenzied and chaotic memories of the evil god. He felt as though his soul was being subjected to constant torment, every second inching closer to madness under the pressure. For this reason, he couldn't wait any longer. There was only one thought in his mind now: either kill Zhang Nu, or be killed by him. I'll go ahead. After Isaac sent out this message telepathically, his gray-black robed figure suddenly vanished as if he had evaporated, disappearing from the spot with incredible speed. Amelia couldn't even sense Isaac's movement path. This was because Isaac was not a physical entity. In essence, the formless black nightmare was an evil god, composed of pure psychic energy. This evil god never had a fixed form. Amelia murmured to herself, having this one personally take action, dealing with the rank 1 demon king Zhang Nu should be no problem, right? Amelia's confidence wasn't unfounded. Even though Zhang Nu had become incredibly powerful, evolving to a godly level, he had only just broken through. On the other hand, Isaac had inherited an ancient evil god. The formless black nightmare was an exceptionally powerful and formidable entity, even among all the evil gods. If anyone could take on Zhang Nu, it would be Isaac. At this moment, in Darkness City, Zhang Nu and Han Kursen had not been idle over the past few days. The recent victory not only firmly established the foundation of the Demon King's rule, but also provided an opportunity for the Demon King's forces to expand further. First, Zhang Nu aimed to annex the Sunset Empire and the Radiant Church. The Sunset Empire was one of the 2 major empires near Darkness City, and once it was conquered, the Chaos Sea to the south would be easily brought under control, allowing the Demon King to establish dominion over the entire region. As for the Radiant Church, it was the most influential, widespread, and widely followed religious organization on the continent. In some ways, its value surpassed that of a typical empire-level power. Zhang Nu ordered Han Kursen to manipulate the crown prince of the Sunset Empire to annex the empire, while he personally traveled to the Holy Land of the Radiant Church, the Holy Light Plains, often referred to as the center of the world. The current pope of the Radiant Church, Dolores, had already been controlled by Han Kursen, and the Radiant Church's founding artifact, the Heart of Holy Light, was now in Zhang Nu's possession. Given these circumstances, there was no doubt that the Radiant Church would ultimately have no choice but to submit to the Demon King's rule. Meanwhile, Han Kursen successfully installed the new emperor in the Sunset Empire and swiftly eliminated the rebellious nobles and factions within the country. In the end, these 2 key regions both fell under the Demon King's control. At this moment, Zhang Nu received the relevant notifications. You've conquered the Sunset Empire. You've gained Sunset Empire Treasure Chest X1. You've conquered the Plains of Holy Light. You've gained Radiant Church Treasure Chest X1. Zhang Nu successfully acquired these 2 high-level treasure chests. Without hesitation, he opened them immediately. You've opened the Sunset Empire treasure chest. You've activated the title, Sunset Demon Emperor. You've gained Gold X70 Billion, Blueprint, Demon King's Reincarnation Tower X1, Blueprint, Demon King's Heavenly Altar X1, Level 6 Special Building Upgrade Scroll X1, Level 5 Special Building Upgrade Scroll X20, Level 5 Building Upgrade Scroll X100, 13 Elemental Gems X4 million each, Sword of the Demon King X1. Another tens of billions in gold coins. Millions of gems. Dozens to hundreds of building upgrade scrolls. In addition to these abundant resources, the rewards included special blueprints and a piece of equipment of divine quality. Although the blueprints were duplicates and not particularly useful to Zhang Nu, the equipment caught his attention. Zhang Nu typically didn't rely heavily on equipment, especially now that he had ascended to divine class. The reason this particular item interested him was simply because it was a divine artifact. On the surface, it appeared to be a very simple, unremarkable stone sword. However, beneath its modest exterior, it exuded an overwhelming sense of power, far surpassing any epic-grade equipment. After glancing at its attributes: Sword of the Demon King, divine-grade item, exclusive to Demon Kings. For stats, plus 20,000, MP plus 300,000, HP plus 300,000. Each target killed will have their abilities absorbed, further enhancing the sword's power. As expected, this was yet another ridiculously powerful divine weapon. Unlike the Tome of Demon King from the Thunder Empire treasure chest, which was more focused on creating resources and aiding development, the Sword of the Demon King was a quintessential combat weapon. The more enemies it killed and the more territory it conquered, the stronger the sword would become, with virtually limitless potential. Very impressive. Zhang Nu was extremely satisfied. Zhang Nu then proceeded to open the second treasure chest. You've opened the Radiant Church treasure chest. You've activated the title, Radiant Demon Lord. You've gained Ruler of Eternal Night Evil God Fragments ×8. Compared to the treasure chests he had opened in the past, this one was clearly different. Although Zhang Nu had only conquered the Holy Light Plains and taken complete control of the Radiant Church, the scale of the conquest in terms of cities, population, and overall size was not on par with that of an empire. However, the Radiant Church's influence and reach extended across almost all surface nations. The church was also teeming with powerful individuals, including numerous mythic and legendary figures, and even demigods like Lucas, who could nearly rival deities with the help of artifacts. Thus, in terms of difficulty, conquering the Radiant Church was a greater challenge. Perhaps because of the unique nature of this faction and location, the rewards given were also unique. When Zhang Nu saw the reward, he was momentarily stunned. This time, the reward included 8 fragments of an evil god. What was even more bizarre and astonishing was that all 8 fragments came from the same evil god. At this moment, the fragments were in an inactive state, but because they were in such close proximity, it was clear that they were rapidly reviving. If not used quickly, there was a high likelihood that the evil god would be released. Zhang Nu already possessed the power of the 8-eyed evil god and had himself ascended to become the Chaos Dragon god. While adding another evil god to his arsenal would certainly enhance his strength, the cost-effectiveness was not as high as it once might have been. It would be more of an embellishment rather than a significant upgrade. After some consideration, Zhang Nu decided to give the 8 fragments to his most trusted subordinate, Han Kursin. At this point, Han Kursin had already developed divine traits, but she would not be able to gather the necessary materials to advance to level 7 anytime soon. Given this, it made more sense for her to gain the power of an evil god. By wielding the power of the evil god, Han Kursin could temporarily attain divine strength. Although she would certainly fall short of a true deity, she would still be a formidable force. 2 days later, over the Chaos Forest, countless black clouds emerged from the darkness. A terrifying and maddening aura rapidly spread, enveloping the entire region. This aura was none other than that of the formless Black Nightmare. The rank 1 hero, Isaac, had arrived. Isaac arrived above the Chaos Forest, releasing his psychic power to envelop the entire Darkness Woods. He could clearly sense a powerful force lurking within Darkness City, one that made him feel a surge of excitement. The intelligence was indeed accurate. There was a divine being here, just like himself. After the battle at Thunder Highlands, Darkness City had rapidly developed in just a few short days. The buildings and facilities were all renewed, and the progress of the various troops and legions was astonishing, far beyond what one would expect. Under these circumstances, even a divine being would find it difficult to launch a successful frontal assault in a short time. As Isaac hovered over the Chaos Forest and unleashed his psychic power, Darkness City immediately seemed to detect his presence. Tens of thousands of abyssal dragons began to rise from all directions within the forest. The sheer number was overwhelming. Just the number of abyssal dragons taking to the skies was in the tens of thousands, including 5,000 level 6 dragon elders, 300 dragon kings, and at least 10 dragon emperors. Such a terrifying dragon legion had the power to crush and incinerate any empire on the planet's surface. However, even when faced with such a formidable dragon legion, Isaac remained unfazed. He slowly began to condense his form, releasing a massive black fog from the void. This black fog gathered together, eventually forming a giant beast massive enough to shroud the entire Chaos Forest. This beast's appearance wasn't fixed. At first glance, it resembled a colossal, monstrous bird. But this was not Isaac's true form, as Isaac, being a pure psychic entity, did not possess a physical body. What appeared above the Chaos Forest was actually Isaac's projection. In other words, this super-colossal beast, entirely composed of black fog and resembling a giant bird, was merely Isaac's mental projection. Although not his true body, the mental projection of an evil god was still an incredibly powerful force. Ordinary people, without any protection, would instantly be driven mad or turned into monsters if they even approached the Chaos Forest, overwhelmed by the all-encompassing, frenzied psychic power. Nonetheless, the entire Chaos Forest was guarded by the power of the World Tree. Under its protection, the plants, animals, and inhabitants of the forest were not significantly affected. At that moment, the wings of the nightmare beast flapped, and thousands, even tens of thousands, of monsters were released from its massive body. These were all powerful evil god creatures. One of the most potent abilities of the formless black nightmare was creating monsters through nightmares. This evil god could create various nightmare creatures with mere thoughts, materializing his delusions and madness into reality. During his countless years of being sealed, the Black Nightmare's deranged mind and imagination had already created innumerable nightmare creatures. Now, under Isaac's control, the evil god began to unleash these nightmare beasts stored in his mind. Unquestionably, the number of these creatures far exceeded anything most people could imagine. In an instant, the nightmare beast released tens of thousands of them, and the rate of unleashing didn't slow down. Before long, the skies above the Chaos Forest were filled with an inked sea of nightmare monsters. These nightmare creatures, each one a spawn of the evil god's long slumber, were born from nightmares and, once materialized in the real world, became powerful evil god monsters. The types of these monsters were incredibly diverse. Almost none were alike, and nearly each and every one of them had different abilities. However, all were infused with the essence of the evil god, spreading corruption wherever they went. Soon, the dragons of the Chaos Forest clashed with these evil god monsters. Despite their formidable strength, the Dragon Legion of Darkness City could barely hold back the Nightmare Army. The evil god, by sheer will alone, had created a force powerful enough to challenge the might of Darkness City. Such power was truly terrifying, a testament to the divine nature of Isaac. Isaac sent out a powerful telepathic wave that resonated throughout the Chaos Forest, affecting every living being within it. Stop wasting time. You know full well that no army or defense can stop my invasion. At that moment, an overwhelming aura erupted from the direction of Darkness City, like a volcano that had been suppressed for millennia finally exploding. A dark aura spread across the sky, plunging the entire Chaos Forest into pitch-black darkness, where one could not even see their hand in front of their face. Has he finally appeared? Isaac could clearly sense a powerful aura, one that was on the same level as his own. From the nature of this aura, it seemed that the opponent was also an evil god. So that's it, he thought. The so-called #1 Demon King was just someone who absorbed the power of an evil god? Isaac sneered inwardly. Although both were evil gods, they were fundamentally different. The Demon King had gained his power by collecting evil god fragments, eventually inheriting the full strength of an evil god. However, power obtained through inheritance was never as potent as direct merging. Even after inheriting the evil god's power, there was still a period of adjustment. It was impossible to fully harness the evil god's strength immediately. Isaac, on the other hand, had directly merged with the evil god's body in a manner akin to soul possession, instantly gaining all of the evil god's memories and instincts. While the side effects were significant, this method allowed Isaac to fully access the evil god's entire power, including its experience and innate abilities, something that couldn't be achieved by merely absorbing evil god fragments. Then, the endless darkness swirled and eventually coalesced into a figure. This figure was entirely shrouded within what appeared to be a black hole, making it impossible to discern its true form from the outside. So, you are the first Demon King? Isaac sneered. How disappointing. He had clearly misunderstood. Although the being before him radiated the aura of a divine entity, it was obvious that this was not the great Demon King Zhongnu. The one who had emerged to confront Isaac was merely Zhongnu's subordinate, Han Kursin. Having obtained 8 fragments of the evil god ruler of eternal night, Han Kursin had now inherited all the power of this evil god. As a result, although her own power had not yet reached divine class, she could temporarily wield godlike strength by channeling the evil god's power. Moreover, by acquiring the evil god's divine essence and physique, she had laid the groundwork for her own future advancement to godhood. At this moment, Han Kursin had fully unleashed the power of the eternal night evil god. Hidden within the black hole, she had transformed into a manifestation of endless darkness, as if capable of devouring everything in existence. Die. Isaac unleashed an overwhelming surge of psychic energy. The moment this psychic power was released, it rapidly materialized, transforming into tens of thousands of nightmare creatures that swarmed toward Han Kursin. Han Kursin, hidden within the black hole, made no move to resist, allowing the countless nightmares to invade. As these nightmare creatures, born from the evil god's psychic energy, approached the black hole, they were instantly swallowed up, shredded, and absorbed by the immense power of the black hole. However, despite this, Isaac did not relent. The Black Nightmare's formidable power continued to pour forth, seemingly inexhaustible, as it relentlessly invaded the domain of the Eternal Night. This level of combat had long surpassed the understanding of ordinary people. The two forces were locked in a stalemate. Although the Black Nightmare's psychic energy was immensely powerful, it could not easily break through the domain of the Eternal Night. Meanwhile, the black hole created by the Eternal Night was constantly being eroded by the Black Nightmare's psychic power. Both were divine-class entities, fully capable of posing a threat to one another. Han Kursen could clearly feel it. Every moment, Isaac was unleashing hundreds or even thousands of nightmare creatures to invade her domain of Eternal Night. Although this process consumed a significant amount of Isaac's psychic power, her domain was also rapidly being eroded. Each time a nightmare creature was crushed, it left behind traces of the Black Nightmare's psychic energy. In a matter of moments, Han Kursen suddenly realized that her domain was already filled with the Black Nightmare's energy, and this residual energy was beginning to coalesce and gather. This is... Han Kursen realized the danger and quickly summoned the Demon King's tome, attempting to further enhance her power using this divine artifact. However, by then, the countless fragments of the evil god's psychic energy had already converged, finally forming a black-cloaked figure in front of Han Kursen. "You've lost." Isaac's maniacal psychic wave echoed as thousands of evil god tendrils extended rapidly toward Han Kursen. These tendrils appeared to be physical attacks, but they were, in fact, manifestations of psychic energy. Fortunately, Han Kursen was no ordinary person. Not only did she possess the power of the ruler of Eternal Night, but she was also a top-tier psychic and soul manipulator, with the strength of a demigod. Under these circumstances, and with the added support of the Demon King's tome, she barely managed to resist the Black Nightmare's further psychic invasion. However, the difference in their strengths was becoming increasingly apparent. Though the battle had not yet been decided, it was clear that Isaac, the formless Black Nightmare, had been suppressing the Eternal Night from the very beginning. Han Kursen's power was evidently inferior to Isaac's. "It's useless. Stop your futile resistance. No one can stop the nightmare, your fate is to be eternally devoured by it, and your psyche will become new fuel for the nightmare," Isaac taunted. Han Kursen felt her energy depleting rapidly. She was struggling more and more, with no chance to counterattack. "I can't defeat him." After about an hour of stalemate, Han Kursen could no longer maintain her evil god form. Since she hadn't evolved to the divine level herself, she was relying purely on the evil god fragments to unlock this power. As her energy and stamina were exhausted, Han Kursen finally lost the ability to sustain her evil god form. The black hole she had created instantly disintegrated and vanished, and her figure emerged from the abyss of darkness. She looked pale and was almost completely drained of strength. The Black Nightmare, Isaac, let out a triumphant psychotic laugh. In truth, it wasn't easy for one evil god to defeat another. Though the power of the Eternal Night was somewhat weaker than his own, her ability to devour and absorb energy was incredibly strong. Isaac had to create and release at least 100,000 nightmare creatures just to successfully infiltrate her domain with his psychic energy and manifest within it. Only by doing so did he gain a chance at victory. Throughout the battle, the ruler of Eternal Night continuously absorbed and utilized energy, operating like a perpetual motion machine, endlessly drawing power. This process drained a significant portion of Isaac's own strength. Yet, despite the effort, it was all worth it. Devouring another evil god's psychic energy would surely make Isaac's nightmares even stronger. But just as victory seemed certain, something unexpected happened. Dozens of Isaac's nightmare tendrils were about to pierce Han Kursen's mind when suddenly, a flash of sword chi appeared out of nowhere, severing the tendrils in an instant. At the same time, a presence far more powerful than the Eternal Night evil god descended upon them. Isaac's expression changed drastically. Another divine entity. Zhang Nu had not transformed into his dragon god or evil god forms. He stood there in white robes, with black hair and dark eyes, looking entirely human as he appeared abruptly in the midst of the battle between the two evil gods. It was well known that ordinary beings could neither gaze upon nor approach an evil god. Even getting close to an evil god would lead to madness or sudden death, and in the worst cases, their bodies, souls, and minds would be corrupted, twisted beyond recognition. Yet here was Zhang Nu, in human form, casually walking into the fray. Though Zhang Nu appeared to be just a normal human, Isaac could sense the overwhelming power emanating from him. Zhang Nu spoke calmly, the fact that you could defeat my subordinate is indeed impressive. Subordinate? Isaac was stunned upon hearing this. Under the immense power and psychic energy of the Black Nightmare, Isaac could easily gauge the strength of his opponents. It was clear that this individual, who had suddenly appeared, was far more powerful than the ruler of Eternal Night. Isaac asked, "Who are you?" Zhang Nu, came the reply. At that moment, Isaac realized the gravity of the situation. After expending so much effort to finally overpower the Eternal Night Evil God, he discovered that she wasn't even the rank 1 Demon King, Zhang Nu. A being so powerful, who had already stepped into godhood, was merely one of Zhang Nu's subordinates. Stand down, Zhang Nu ordered immediately after interrupting the duel between the two evil gods. Han Kursen, not being a true divine entity, had already exceeded expectations by holding out for as long as she did, largely thanks to the Demon King's tome she carried with her. However, this was her limit. In her current state, she wouldn't last 3 more rounds against Isaac. Understood. Han Kursen responded promptly and retreated as ordered. Despite not gaining much from the battle, she felt she had learned a great deal. After using a spatial magic spell to retreat, only Zhang Nu and Isaac remained, facing each other. Zhang Nu stayed in his human form, showing no visible signs of power, while Isaac, being a formless entity, made it clear that this would be another battle beyond the comprehension of ordinary mortals. Isaac's crazed telepathic voice echoed, "Ha ha ha. If the two of you had joined forces, I might have had trouble dealing with you. But now, do you really think you can stand against me alone?" As he spoke, the nightmare beast began to writhe, releasing 10 powerful creatures from within its body. These 10 creatures each had a different appearance, but were all shrouded in a potent evil god aura. Even sensing just a trace of it would be enough to drive someone insane or cause them to mutate horribly. Zhang Nu's gaze swept over the creatures. Each of these evil god monsters was at a demigod level, which surprised him. He hadn't expected the Black Nightmare's power to be so formidable, capable of spawning such demigod-class entities out of thin air. These 10 monsters, any one of which could dominate a region or secure the fate of an empire in the surface world. And yet, such powerful entities were brought forth effortlessly by the Nightmare Evil God. Isaac's power was truly extraordinary. With a single thought, Zhang Nu unleashed the power of space and time, instantly enveloping everything around him in an almost frozen space. Within this space, all activities on the temporal and spatial planes were brought to a halt. The 10 demigod evil god monstrosities, summoned just moments ago, were rendered motionless. A simple, ancient-looking stone sword appeared in Zhang Nu's hand. Though it appeared unremarkable, it emanated an extraordinarily powerful aura. In a flash, Zhang Nu appeared in front of one of the evil god monsters, a creature with 100 heads and 100 arms. With a swift thrust, he plunged the sword into the creature's body. Powerful energy radiated from the sword, and chaotic dragon flames engulfed the monster entirely. Within the blink of an eye, the creature was reduced to ashes. The immense power and various energies within the monster were not lost, but instead absorbed entirely by the stone sword. After slaying the creature, the sword's appearance began to change, with the rough stone texture becoming slightly smoother. Zhang Nu's form flickered as he moved rapidly, and before the remaining 9 monsters could react, they too were cut down by the Demon King's sword, now wreathed in chaotic lightning flames. The power of these nightmare monsters was completely drained and absorbed into the sword. By this point, the stone texture of the sword had entirely vanished, replaced by a near crystalline appearance. Zhang Nu had effortlessly slain 10 demigod monsters. Now, his attention shifted to the countless other evil god creatures swirling in the sky, locked in battle with the abyssal dragons of Darkness City. However, Zhang Nu had already taken control of the entire space-time continuum, therefore these battling creatures appeared like frozen images. With another swift movement, Zhang Nu swung his sword in arcs. The evil god monstrosities, seemingly frozen like clay sculptures, shattered under his attacks as if they were nothing more than fragile toys. The power of the tens of thousands of evil god creatures was all absorbed into the stone sword in Zhang Nu's hand. The weapon had now fully transformed into a crystalline object, radiating a brilliant halo of light, its immense power evident to anyone who could perceive it. Damn it! Space-time manipulation, is it? Zhang Nu had just slain 10 demigod monsters and then wiped out thousands upon thousands of other nightmare creatures with an air of calm and ease. However, in reality, the entire process took only a fraction of a second, a mere thousandth of a second. Since time was nearly at a standstill, no one else could perceive or witness Xiongnu's actions except for the formless black nightmare, Isaac. The reason was simple. On one hand, both Xiongnu and Isaac were divine entities. On the other hand, Isaac's primary power lay in the realm of the mind. Any movement of elements or matter is subject to the constraints of time and space. However, psychic energy is a unique type of energy that can exist independently of time and space. Thus, Isaac was able to see every moment of Xiongnu's sweeping annihilation. But Xiongnu was a divine being himself, and he also possessed the power of the eight-eyed evil god. Isaac found himself unable to prevent any of this. All physical means were trapped within Xiongnu's control of time and space, and even spiritual attacks had a very limited effect. Don't get too full of yourself. Isaac's will grew increasingly violent. Xiongnu could clearly feel a powerful force awakening and sweeping across, instantly enveloping his domain. In the next moment, Xiongnu was plunged into an endless void, surrounded by indescribable, bizarre, and fantastical scenery. This is a dream realm. Isaac's voice echoed from all directions, "You've been drawn into my dream. Within my dream, time and space are under my control. Let's see what you're capable of now." As expected, Isaac couldn't keep his composure any longer. He unleashed his dreamscape, pulling Xiongnu into it. Since this nightmare was a creation of the Black Nightmare evil god, all the laws, time, and space within it were subject to Isaac's control and even alteration, which would significantly weaken Xiongnu's abilities in manipulating time and space. Simultaneously, a figure in a gray-black robe, adorned with thousands of writhing tentacles, appeared before Xiongnu. Unlike the outside world, the Black Nightmare didn't have a physical form. Therefore, he couldn't manifest directly in the real world. But a dreamscape is not bound by the constraints of the material world, allowing even non-physical entities to take shape. The figure before Xiongnu was the true form of the evil god. Isaac's purpose was straightforward. He had dragged Xiongnu into his dreamscape to settle their battle once and for all. However, instead of panicking, Xiongnu responded with a knowing smile and calmly said, "To be honest, I was just wondering how I could deal with you. I didn't expect you to just hand me an opportunity." Isaac, in his original form, was merely a mass of intangible psychic energy. Xiongnu had no way to directly attack this energy, which meant that even if he could defeat Isaac in the physical world, he would have no means to kill or seal him. But now, things were different. Isaac had materialized himself. While this allowed the Black Nightmare to wield immense power and attack directly, rather than relying on his nightmare creatures to fight indirectly, it came with a significant cost. By materializing, he became tangible and vulnerable to attacks. Isaac had, in effect, exposed himself to danger. And Xiongnu had been struggling to find a way to deal with him before this opportunity presented itself. Isaac was undoubtedly aware of this risk, but he was supremely confident in his abilities. He believed that within his dreamscape, his powers would be magnified many times over. No matter how strong Xiongnu's abilities were, controlling the chaotic time and space within a dreamscape would not be easy. In Isaac's mind, this meant that the Demon King's defeat was inevitable. "Let me show you what a true nightmare is." From the darkness surrounding Isaac, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands, of phantoms began to emerge. These phantoms were not physical entities, but terrifying creatures, created by the Black Nightmare within his dreamscape. Each one had the potential to materialize in the real world. During the countless millennia of his imprisonment, the Nightmare Evil God had never ceased his activities within the dreamscape. The army of nightmares he had created, if fully unleashed, would not only be a disaster for individuals, but could also spell doom for the entire world. Just then, this overwhelming force, capable of bringing about a catastrophic calamity, was converging madly upon Isaac. Various forms and shapes of nightmare creations were drawn to him, gathering around their master, like rivers flowing into the sea. Intriguing. Xiongnu's expression tightened as he witnessed the scene. The formless Black Nightmare, Isaac, was consuming his own nightmares. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of these terrifying nightmare creatures were being absorbed into Isaac's being, merging with him. The Nightmare Evil God was already an immensely powerful deity, but now, with the addition of millions of nightmares fused into his body, his strength had transcended the limits of imaginations. Do you see it? This is true power. Isaac's manic spirit had been magnified many times over. If this power had been released into the real world, the mere force of his psychic waves could have annihilated an entire kingdom. You will never be able to defeat a nightmare. As he spoke, Isaac made his move. A massive storm erupted from his body, a tempest that contained not only the power of the evil god himself but also millions of nightmare creatures condensed within it. Even a deity would likely wither and perish in the face of such an assault. Seeing this, Xiongnu did not dare to be careless. He had to admit that the power of this nightmare evil god was indeed stronger than he had anticipated. Under normal circumstances, facing such an attack, even he would not risk confronting it head-on and would likely have to retreat, possibly paying a significant price in the process. And yet, the current Xiongnu had no such fears. The Demon King's sword in his hand had already absorbed an immense amount of power, which he now unleashed in a single burst. At the same time, Xiongnu frantically conjured chaotic lightning flames, channeling all of his power and the divine sword's energy into one concentrated strike. With a swing of his sword, Xiongnu aimed at the storm before him. The sword light slashed through the tempest, and the two forces locked in a fierce struggle. At first glance, it seemed that Xiongnu's sword energy was unable to break through the nightmare storm. But as Xiongnu unleashed the chaotic lightning flames, tens of thousands of nightmare creatures were vaporized in an instant. Although their numbers were significant, they were not enough to turn the tide. However, the energy from the vanquished nightmares was absorbed by the Demon King's sword, which in turn fueled more lightning flames, creating a powerful cycle. This mighty artifact ensured that Xiongnu's strength remained at its peak without diminishing, while the nightmare storm, no matter how formidable, would eventually reach its limits. What's happening? No, this can't be. Isaac, the formless black nightmare, couldn't believe his eyes. His overwhelmingly powerful assault was being held back by a mere sword, and his own strength was rapidly draining. Arg! What have you done? For the first time, Isaac felt fear. He realized that the rank 1 Demon King's power was not inferior to his own, and with a powerful artifact that seemed perfectly suited to counter him, he was quickly losing ground. Game over. As the nightmare storm weakened, the light of the sword and the chaotic lightning flames grew ever stronger. Sensing that victory was near, Xiongnu focused all his power and, in a final burst, merged with the Demon King's sword, transforming into a dragon-like figure. In the next instant, the sword pierced through the storm, striking Isaac directly. Isaac's body was impaled, and he burst into flames as the chaotic lightning flames consumed him. The power of the flames was immense, capable of destroying any material or energy. Ah! Isaac, the nightmare evil god, let out a maddened howl. His body was shattered, and the entire nightmare realm collapsed, releasing an overwhelmingly powerful energy wave that rippled through the universe. Even tens of thousands of miles away, people could sense the abnormality of this energy, with entire nations falling into nightmares, and some mortals experiencing various mental disturbances. You've slain the hero Isaac, Divine Soul +1, Godhood +1, Hero Leaderboard Chest +1. You've opened the Hero Treasure Chest. You've gained Level 7 Soul x 500, 15 Elemental Gems x 5 million each, Nightmare Evil God Fragment x 8. The rank 1 Demon King, Xiongnu, had officially defeated the rank 1 hero, Isaac. In this divine battle, there was no doubt that the Demon King had emerged victorious once again. This victory not only earned Xiongnu a substantial amount of souls and materials, but also rewarded him with yet another complete set of evil god fragments. Though Isaac was dead, the evil god was not. For deities are immortal and indestructible. When defeated, they merely revert to inanimate fragments. If these fragments are reassembled, it won't take long before they regain their vitality and resurrect. At that point, a new generation of the nightmare evil god would arise. The outcome of this battle held great significance. Even Isaac had fallen to Xiongnu, and not even divine-class combat power could conquer Darkness City. This fact underscored one undeniable truth: Darkness City was now invincible. No matter how many heroes might unite against it, it would be to no avail. The dominance of Demon King Xiongnu over the world was now unstoppable. If this game were a chess match, then at this moment, the final move had already been played. Checkmate. The blazing flame celestial kingdom had gathered an army of 1,000,000 soldiers, ready for battle. Amelia herself was prepared to lead them in support of Isaac. However, before the army could fully assemble, a piece of devastating news struck like a bolt from the blue. Amelia! Terrible news. Isaac's name has been erased from the hero leaderboard. Dozens of heroes from the blazing flame kingdom rushed to find Amelia, and all of them realized a terrifying truth. The battle between the rank 1 Demon King, Xiongnu, and the rank 1 hero, Isaac, had already reached its conclusion. Isaac's might had failed to destroy Xiongnu and Darkness City. How could it have ended so quickly? Emilia was stunned. One of the heroes asked, "What should we do?" Another shouted, "We should fight Darkness City with everything we've got." But Emilia remained silent. She understood there was no hope left. If Isaac, with his divine power, couldn't defeat Xiongnu, then the chances for the other heroes to resist were even more slim, perhaps non-existent. It's over. The moment Isaac was defeated, this game between heroes and the Demon King ended. Any action we take from here on will be futile. Emilia had lost her fighting spirit. She knew there was no chance left. The advantage that heroes held was primarily in the early stages. Once a Demon King's growth surpassed a certain threshold, they would completely dominate the heroes. For the heroes to reverse the situation would be nearly impossible. The reason was simple: the Demon King's potential for growth was almost limitless, while the growth rate of heroes paled in comparison. Who could have predicted that Xiongnu's rise and growth would be so rapid? Now, after defeating Isaac, Xiongnu would inevitably absorb Isaac's power. The rank 1 Demon King was already overwhelmingly powerful, and with the added strength of the rank 1 hero, how could anyone hope to fight against him? Such overwhelming power was enough to make anyone despair at the mere thought of it. The rank 1 Demon King, Xiongnu, had seen his power skyrocket, and his influence and subordinates would inevitably grow at an astonishing rate. Conquering other empires would become effortless. With each empire he vanquished and each region he occupied, the Demon King would amass vast resources, leading to a significant surge in his power. The Demon King's strength would continue to grow endlessly, to the point where even if all the world's heroes united against him, they wouldn't be able to halt this overwhelming momentum. Instead, they would be crushed into oblivion. Emilia made a decision, the only viable choice left. She resolved to lead the other heroes of the Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom, along with the Emperor and the leaders of the Empire, to personally travel to Darkness City and pledge their allegiance to the Demon King. If they couldn't defeat him, they would join him. Even if it meant losing this game, at least they could preserve their lives and positions. Xiongnu, the great Demon King, could no longer be judged by the standards of mere mortals. He had become a supreme deity walking among men. Bowing down and pledging loyalty to such a divine being was no disgrace. Meanwhile, within the Chaos Forest and Darkness City, Xiongnu remained in his human form, dressed in pristine white robes, with black hair and black eyes. He appeared unremarkable as he sat on the grand and imposing Demon King's throne. Before him, his subordinates stood in a line. Thanks to the victories at the Thunder Highlands, the conquest of the Sunset Empire and the Radiant Church, and the defeat of the hero Isaac, the resources acquired had led to the rapid development of the Chaos Federation's power. Now, the entire upper echelon of Darkness City's forces had advanced significantly. Xiongnu had acquired the Demon King's sword, the Demon King's tome, and absorbed the power of the Nightmare Evil God. His own strength continued to grow, reaching a level that could rival even the ancient gods. As for his subordinates, Han Kursen had already become a quasi-god. She was on the verge of reaching level 7 and, with the power of the ruler of eternal night, possessed enough strength to contend with ordinary divine beings. Xiongnu's other subordinates, including Long Yi, Zhang San, Li Si, and Wang Er, the 10 dragon leaders, had all ascended to level 7 and become demigods. Additionally, Nancilia, Shui Lan, Jin Kuei, Bai Jia, and Gru had also reached level 7, awakening their divinity and becoming demigods. Moreover, the number of dragons in the Chaos Forest had now surpassed 8 million, with over 500,000 abyssal dragons among them. This level of power was beyond what any nation or force in the world could imagine or withstand. From this moment on, Xiongnu had truly become a supreme Demon King, towering over all of history. There was no longer any force in this world that could escape his shadow or resist his rule. Your Majesty, our army has successfully conquered the Chaos Sea. Shui Lan reported with excitement. The various forces of the Chaos Sea, including the Deep Sea Hermit Association, have crumbled under the might of Darkness City. We are on the brink of unifying the entire Chaos Sea. Xiongnu was very pleased with this news. With the Thunder Empire, the Sunset Empire, and the Chaos Sea all under his control, the 3 major forces surrounding the Chaos Forest were now firmly in his grasp. After integrating these three Empire-level forces, along with the Radiant Church, which surpassed even empires in influence, the surface world no longer had any obstacles in his way. Han Kexanthan also reported, recently, over 100 factions, each at least at the kingdom level, have been attempting to make contact with Darkness City. They hope to secure peace by expressing their submission and promising tributes. Hearing this, Zhang Nu smiled. He asked, "What do you think?" Han Kursan replied, "Simply offering tribute and submission in exchange for peace is not enough. Only complete surrender and acceptance of occupation will suffice. Darkness City will not allow any independent factions to exist." Zhang Nu nodded in agreement. Exactly. They must join the Chaos Federation and accept direct rule from Darkness City. Any force that dares to resist the new order has no right to exist. He paused for a moment before continuing, "I'll leave this matter in your hands." Han Kursan immediately accepted the command. "Rest assured, I'll take care of it." She felt a surge of excitement. Among the factions attempting to negotiate with Darkness City were not only those from the surface world but also from the outer world, the oceans, and even the underworld. There were about 10 Empire-level entities among them. If Darkness City could successfully occupy and assimilate these factions, the rewards and treasure chests obtained from these conquests would surely make Darkness City 10 times more prosperous than it is now. At that moment, an aura appeared above Darkness City. Inside the Demon King's Hall, where nearly 20 demigod-class powerhouses were gathered, everyone felt its presence as soon as it appeared. Who dares trespass into the Chaos Capital? The Demon King's officers were all furious. Nancilia remarked, "I don't sense any hostility. It seems they're not here to attack. Let's go and meet them." The group left the castle and looked up at the sky, where they saw tens of thousands of 18-winged seraphim. In the midst of these top-tier seraphim were the Emperor of the Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom and the highly ranked hero, Amelia Ray, the Lord of Blazing Flame. The Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom seeks to join the Chaos Federation. We will accept the rule of His Majesty, the Demon King. We voluntarily offer our entire nation in service to His Majesty. Amelia knew this was her only chance at survival. If the Demon King did not accept their surrender, no matter where she fled, she would be doomed. So, they had come to surrender. The Seraphim were known for their pride. A race that dwelled in the heavens, they rarely deigned to interact with mortals on the surface. Yet now, they had brought their leaders to surrender, which astonished the onlookers. However, Zhang Nu remained indifferent. There was no force left in this world that could stand against him. Although the Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom was one of the most powerful Empire-level forces, Zhang Nu could easily obliterate them if he desired. Whether they surrendered or not was of little consequence to him. Of course, their voluntary surrender spared him some trouble, and given the Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom's significant influence in the outer world, their submission would likely prompt other factions to follow suit. The world was vast, and each region needed a proxy to govern it. Zhang Nu calmly declared, "I accept your surrender. Darkness City will reward those who are loyal, but if I discover any disloyalty, do not blame me for being ruthless. You've conquered the Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom. You've gained Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom Treasure Chest X1. You've activated the title, Eternal Ruler of the Outer Worlds. You've gained." Zhang Nu quickly assimilated the Blazing Flame Celestial Kingdom, and soon after, he received the corresponding rewards for this conquest. Before he even had time to sort through these rewards, news of his success spread. After a few troublemakers were swiftly dealt with by Han Kursan, the rest of the world's factions finally saw the writing on the wall. Hundreds of factions came forward to pledge their allegiance. You've conquered the Savage Beast Empire. You've conquered the Izumo Empire. You've conquered the Holy Sword Empire. You've conquered Dragon Island. You've conquered the Shadow Empire. One after another, factions were quickly brought under his control. Heroes and demon kings alike submitted to his rule. The number of Zhang Nu's subjects soared, and Darkness City's wealth and blueprints, materials, and resources grew exponentially. With these assets, the Demon King could create resources, armies, and expand in every way possible. This not only made his kingdom more prosperous, but it also paved the way for the complete transformation of this world, establishing an unprecedented unified order. By the time his power had reached this level, the game was already over. The great Demon King Zhang Nu had thoroughly conquered the world, and it was only a matter of time before he ruled every being and dominated every corner of the land. As the supreme ruler, there was no longer anything in this world that could threaten Zhang Nu. Without any challenges left, he made a decision. Once he had conquered everything, he would embark on a new journey. If he wished, countless other worlds awaited his arrival and conquest. But that, of course, is another story. Welcome to the second round of the game. This round is set in an open-world battle royale. Every player you encounter is an enemy. You can earn great rewards by eliminating other players. Once you die, you will lose your eligibility for the game and be returned to the previous world. Please choose your player identity within 10 minutes. Zhang Nu opened his eyes. He found himself in a grand hall, surrounded by tens of thousands of statues. These statues represented various races, but they were all of the same size and height. So this is the second round of the game? This game was not unfamiliar to Zhang Nu. In the previous round, players were divided into two factions, Demon Kings and Heroes. The paths for players in these two factions were completely different. To put it simply, players in the Demon King faction participated in a kind of strategy game. They were confined to a fixed location where they had to build their forces, recruit followers, and develop their territories. On the other hand, players in the Hero faction engaged in a role-playing game, where they could choose an identity, roam freely, level up by defeating monsters, and challenge Demon Kings across various regions. In the last round, Zhang Nu was the most powerful and successful player in the Demon King faction. He was the first to conquer empires and crush all other players. Over the following decade, with an almost overwhelming advantage, he became the world's most powerful Demon King. Once his power reached its peak, Zhang Nu found there were no more challenges or excitement left. So he delegated the tasks of defending his territory and further development to his subordinates, and he decided to take part in this new round of the game. Unlike the previous round, this was a free-for-all battle royale. This meant there were no factions, and players could kill anyone they encountered, earning substantial rewards from their fallen opponents. The ultimate goal was to be the last one standing. Zhang Nu didn't ponder too deeply into it. His experience from the previous game taught him that, for a hero, choosing the right starting point was crucial. A good starting point could allow him to soar to great heights and stay ahead of everyone else in any situation. With this in mind, Zhang Nu scanned the statues around him. Information began to automatically appear before his eyes. Although Zhang Nu couldn't bring his power, equipment, or forces from the previous world into this one, his unique ability remained perfectly intact. Zhang Nu's special ability was simple: he could see through all hidden information. Whether it was a monster, a person, an item, or a location, Zhang Nu could view all the details he wanted. The target's full status, data, and abilities would appear as an interface before him. There wasn't much time to waste. He needed to choose an identity quickly. Zhang Nu began to scan the information appearing from the statues before him. Hunter from Green River Village, low-grade potential, not recommended. Constable from Ping'an County, low-grade potential, not recommended. Bear Yaoguai of Black Wind Cave, mid-grade potential, recommended. Earth Guardian of Mount Songming, mid-grade potential, recommended. Seeing this information, Zhang Nu was slightly surprised. This world was very different from the previous one. The biggest difference was that the last world leaned towards a Western fantasy setting with battle chi and magic, whereas this world had Yaoguais, Earth Guardians, and all sorts of spirits. It was clear now this second round of the game was set in a Xianxia, immortal cultivation, world. Zhang Nu noticed that most of the potentials appearing before him were either low or mid-grade, which was far from satisfactory. He continued searching and quickly found one or two high-grade options. Thousand-Year Fox Yaoguai of Qingqiu Kingdom, high-grade potential, recommended. Disciple of Shantian Sect, innate Dao body, high-grade potential, recommended. These identities seemed promising, but with a bit more time remaining, Zhang Nu decided to keep looking. Disciple of Shankong Temple, Vajra Buddha body, high-grade potential, recommended. Thousand-Year Ghost Cultivator of Wangu Demonic Abyss, high-grade potential, recommended. A few minutes later, Zhang Nu found two more options. However, time was running out. He needed to make a choice quickly, or the system would force one upon him. Just then, an intriguing piece of information appeared before him. Orphan of the 10,000 Great Mountains, Supreme Sacred Body, Supergrade Potential, highly recommended. Interesting. Zhang Nu took a closer look, and more detailed information appeared. Orphan of the 10,000 Great Mountains, Supreme Sacred Body, Supergrade Potential. Description: this is a mysterious orphan from the depths of the 10,000 Great Mountains. Although parentless, they possess the 9 heavens' supreme immaculate sacred body, granting them immense potential to overpower others in their realm. They are also immune to all evils and impervious to all spells. Time was running out. Zhang Nu made his choice. He selected the orphan of the 10,000 Great Mountains. The game's notification sounded in his mind. Selection complete. Reincarnation initiated. Please prepare yourself, player. Zhang Nu felt a brief wave of dizziness. When he recovered, he found himself in a vast, untouched mountain range. The ground beneath him was covered in lush grass, and a clear stream flowed nearby, brimming with vibrant life. At the same time, Zhang Nu was surprised to discover that he seemed to have shrunk, or more accurately, his age had regressed. After being reborn into this body, Zhang Nu found himself around 14 or 15 years old. Opening the player interface, Zhang Nu's stats appeared before him. Player, Zhang Nu. Level, Qi Gathering Stage 1, 0 out of 100. Identity, Mysterious Orphan of the 10,000 Mountains. Stats. Vitality, 10, 000/10, 000. Essence, 10, 000/10, 000. Physique, 100. Soul, 100. Mind, 100. Talent, 100. Ability, Supreme Sacred Body, Talent. Seeing this information, Zhang Nu felt quite satisfied. This was indeed a world of cultivation. In this world, the cultivation levels were divided into 4 major realms: Qi Gathering Stage, Core Formation Stage, Longevity Stage, and Ascension Stage. Each major realm was further divided into 10 minor levels. Zhang Nu had just descended into this world, so his initial level was only at Qi Gathering Stage 1. However, despite the low starting level, Zhang Nu had immense potential. Zhang Nu examined his talent. Supreme Sacred Body, all stats are 100 times those of other cultivators at the same level. All cultivation techniques have their effects enhanced tenfold, and the amount of spiritual energy required for each level up is reduced by 90%. This talent provided a straightforward and overwhelming boost. Normally, a cultivator at Qi Gathering Stage 1 would start with 100 health and vitality, and all other attributes at 1. But Zhang Nu's attributes were 100 times that. This meant that with this talent, Zhang Nu was absolutely invincible among those at the same level, and even within the same major realm, he would be hard-pressed to find an opponent. Additionally, all cultivation techniques he learned would automatically reach their highest level. With such talent, given time to grow, he would undoubtedly become an unrivaled and terrifying existence. Not bad. Zhang Nu was very pleased. He took a look around. This seemed to be an untouched mountain forest, a place where no one had ever set foot. He felt it might be necessary to leave this area.